The notorious Zebra Man, or Zebra Men technically, because there's been more than one. Yes, there's been more than one Zebra Man. The first of which is Jacob Baker. He debuted in Detective Comics issue 275 from 1960, which is an issue we've actually gone over before in my Batman Zebra video. In this issue, Zebra Man is a scientist who has no name at first, who gets into an accident that somehow turns him into this weird black-white aurora, which, I don't know. He becomes Zebra Man, who has the powers to thrust everything around him accidentally with gravity control, because nothing says zebras like gravity. Also, his powers kind of work like a zombie and infects Batman during the story, because nothing says zebras like zombies. I mean, they both start with Z. Now, Batman is cured, but the question I have is, why is he the Zebra Man? Yes, he has zebra stripes, but his powers aren't zebra related, nor is his gimmick. It's a little bit of an odd choice, as his design and name have absolutely nothing to do with the character. Not his occupation, instead he's a scientist. Not really anything. I thought at least he'd be a zookeeper. It's a little bit of an odd choice, and in my opinion, a choice that was made because they made the design first. Probably along with the name. You see, back in the Silver Age, a lot of times they would actually pitch names and character designs before they came up with the origin and backstory. Therefore, in my opinion, while I couldn't find any actual evidence to point to this, as I actually looked and no one ever said that this was the case with the character, I'm going to go on a limb here and say that's pretty obvious that it was. Because it really does come across as jarring why his name is Zebra Man, because nothing says zebra like gravity zombies. After this, we would not see Jacob Baker for a pretty long time. Instead, we got a second Zebra Man from a story where we actually learned Jacob's name, because Jacob wasn't given a name in this first story. Instead, he got his name for the story of the second Zebra Man, who was himself not given a name. Nor does he have any relation to the first Zebra Man. Instead, he got his powers from Cobra, along with other metahumans, such as Lady Clayface and Planet Master. This Zebra Man seems to have powers similar to Jacob, but slightly different. For example, his abilities seem more under his control, as beforehand, Jacob's seemed more like he couldn't control it, and also like it was coming from his entire body, while this Zebra Man seems like it's just coming from his hands. However, we know very little about him. We don't know if he can infect people like Jacob could or not, because he only appeared in 2 issues of Outsiders, with the focus being more on his teammate Lady Clayface. This Zebra Man afterwards would not be seen again, or would he? That's where things get really confusing, because we're about to get into it, but he accidentally returns. Yes, accidentally. It's an accident when he returns. And let's get into it. The New 52. Where things got really confusing for Zebra Man, which is something in itself kinda sad. Now, the New 52 is known for multiple continuity errors. However, you probably didn't expect it to be involving Zebra Man of all people. But they do somehow break continuity with the character. Because, you see, he kind of appears twice. Batman the Dark Knight issue 1 for 2011, we would get a character named Vortex, who looks identical to Zebra Man, and we later learn that was once his actual name. But he's not mentioned as being Jacob Baker, meaning I'm inclined to believe that this is actually the second Zebra Man for a few reasons that we'll get into. Vortex is an Arkham where he allies himself with animal-themed villains like Catwoman, Cheetah, and Hellhound, because you gotta stay on brand. He would help Catwoman escape, but afterwards Lena would feel regretful for it. So she would actually beat him up and put him back in Arkham. But here's where things get weird. We would meet another Zebra Man in 2014's Argus series, where this was clearly a separate character, due to the fact that the character had a different design, and also had a different power set. Now having a power set more close to Jacob's, that's why I'm inclined to believe this is actually Jacob. This is most likely one of those mistakes that the New 52 is known for. Another example of this is a 10-eyed man, who has extremely different concepts of character when he appears in New 52. For example, in the Batman comics, he appears as a literal demon from hell. But in the Harley Quinn comics, he's a jokester villain. Yeah, very different. But then came Rebirth, where things became a lot more clear. Vortex and Superman were made clear to be different characters. Vortex would appear in 2019 playing cards to Flash villains Fiddler, Psy, and Shrike. However, he would be killed by Psy afterwards, as would Fiddler and Shrike, being torn apart by who they believe were their victims. That is a violent end for a pretty silly character. Meanwhile, back to the other Zebra-Man, he would actually join the Suicide Squad in 2019, and while the series was short-lived and the body count was actually pretty high, Zebra-Man actually walked away okay, surviving the entire series. And that's where we are with Zebra-Man. Now, a version of Zebra-Man did appear in cameo form in the Batman 66 tie-in comics. He would also appear multiple times in cameo form in the Batman the Brave and the Bold cartoon, along with a cameo in the Lego Batman movie. All cameos, so nothing really to note. Zebra-Man is a character I think that falls a little flat. However, he does have some promise. I do think the name Vortex is much better than Zebra-Man, along making a lot more sense with his power set. However, speaking of his power set, does anyone think that he's a little overpowered for a Batman villain? I know Batman goes up against some pretty powerful foes, but Zebra-Man has literal gravity control, which is, in my opinion, something that more aligns him as a Flash villain, which they even try to play with Vortex. Personally, I think if they were to bring him back, maybe not bring him back as a Batman villain, because it doesn't really work. However, I think it could work with him being the villain of perhaps another superhero. Batman has an extremely strong rogues gallery, and I think it will stand just fine without Zebra-Man. And there's other characters who have a pretty weak rogues gallery that could really use the boost. Maybe Wonder Woman, because she deals with a lot of animal-themed villains. I mean, Batman does too, ironically. I don't know why a lot of people deal with animal-themed villains. Actually, does Superman deal with any animal-themed villains? That's a conversation for another time. But I think Vortex could be a pretty good Wonder Woman villain. Or they could keep the original name that is Zebra-Man, because even though I prefer Vortex, I have to admit, Zebra-Man is definitely more iconic. And that's it. Like always, please like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!